A small gesture. One Friday after school when I was a freshman, I noticed one of my classmates walking home with a full bag and a huge stack of books in his arms. His name was Chris, and he was a new student who had transferred to our school in the middle of the semester. He was shy and usually kept to himself. Judging from all those books he was carrying, I figured he must not have much of a life. My active social life guaranteed me a full weekend of watching football and spending time with my friends. Meanwhile, it looked like Chris was planning to stay home and study the whole time. Suddenly, some older boys ran up to Chris, knocking over his stack of books and tripping him. As he fell to the ground, his glasses fell off and all of the books went flying out of his hands. I felt really sorry for him, watching him crawl around looking for his glasses with tears in his eyes, so I ran over and helped him pick up his things. As I handed him his glasses, I asked, "Are you all right?" It really wasn't cool of those guys to do that. He looked up at me. "I'm okay," he said, and he smiled and thanked me with a real look of gratitude in his eyes. I helped him up and offered to carry some of his books for him. As we walked along, it turned out that he lived near my house. The more we talked, the more I realized that we actually had a lot in common. Chris seemed like a pretty cool kid, so I invited him to watch football with me and my friends the next day. We ended up hanging out the whole weekend. Back at school on Monday morning, I saw Chris carrying that big stack of books again. I jokingly said, "Are you actually studying that many books, or are you just using them to exercise?" He laughed at that and handed me some of the books. The more I got to know Chris, the more I liked him. Over the next few years, we became best friends. When we were seniors, I was disappointed that we wouldn't be going to the same college the following year. Chris was going to study politics at a university in another city, and I'd been given a football scholarship to a local college. Still, I knew that the distance wouldn't affect our friendship. He and I would always be friends. As the top student in our school, Chris was chosen to give a speech at our graduation ceremony. I knew he was perfect for the job. When I saw Chris on graduation day, I thought about how much he had changed since we first met. He had become fit and confident, and was very popular with the girls at our school. At the same time, he was very smart and always got good grades. I may have been the star player of our school's football team, but sometimes I was secretly jealous of Chris. I could tell that he was nervous about giving his speech, so I decided to give him some last-minute words of encouragement. I walked up to him and said, "Don't worry, I'm sure your speech will be great." He thanked me with the same grateful smile that I had seen before when we were freshmen. When it was time for his speech, Chris stared at the audience for a moment and cleared his throat before starting. Today marks the end of a long journey for us, a journey not only of academic growth, but of personal growth as well. This is a time for us to thank everyone in our lives for helping us make it through these tough teenage years. I'd like to tell you all a story about how much an act of kindness and being a good friend can change someone's life. As I listened to Chris tell everyone about the first time we met, I was shocked by his version of the story. He said that he had been depressed because he had no friends and was bullied. So he planned to end his life that weekend. He had cleaned out his locker and was taking all of his things home with him. Everyone in the audience gasped in disbelief as they heard this smart, handsome, popular boy tell them about his weakest moment. Then, Chris looked at me with a little smile. "Luckily, a friend saved me from doing the unspeakable," he said. I noticed Chris's parents look over at me with smiles of true gratitude on their faces. For the first time, I fully understood how much a friendship can mean.